We anticipated 18 inches, and we got double that. And we were not ready, and it was such a ferocious storm. It came in so hard with the wind and that heavy, heavy snow, we really kind of got overrun. Our drivers were out in whiteout conditions. They couldn't see the road. They couldn't see the end of the truck. We lost some time, and the snow piled in, and we were in a tough position. But through the help of DCM, now the National Guard, the governor and lieutenant governor took a special interest in the city of Fall River. I consider them, they're not politicians, they're friends of our city. They come down here quite often, and they always support us in our endeavors, and they sent the cavalry in today. I was here at 7 this morning. I got to go to Bishop Conley. There was not a parking spot in the place. It was full of equipment from New York, Connecticut, trucks from Worcester, and now they're out on the streets making major headway and getting the city back on its feet. But it's through the efforts of our governor and our lieutenant governor, who probably have a much more skilled team dealing with crises than the people in Fall River, because we got hit with a real big sucker punch. But they picked us up off the mat, and they gave us the support we need. I really want to thank, from the police department, though, Kelly Furtado and J.T. Hoare. Last night, they scoped out the entire city and gave us the streets that needed a targeted attack this morning, and they've been going at it hot and heavy all day. So again, extra effort from a number of people that were able to make this attack successful, and we're making headway. But I can't stress enough that we wouldn't have gotten off the dime with the help of Governor Healey and Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll. This is her second time down in 3 days, and I know Maura was chomping at the bit to get down here, but she was also getting pulled to other areas of the state. We're glad they're here today, and I do want to introduce Governor Maura Healey, a friend of the city of Fall River.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
That's great. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and the mayor is absolutely right. I mean, this was a big time storm, not just here on the South Coast and in Fall River, but around the state and around the region. And, you know, when you look at some of the totals, I mean, southeastern Massachusetts got more snow, 30+ inches in a 24-hour period than ever before in history. So, you know, that's just the facts. We also know we had hurricane force level winds, which contributed to zero visibility and whiteout conditions. This was really, really rough, and I know, you know, Monday, Tuesday especially cold. So, you know, that was the situation. I want to begin by just commending everybody at all levels. You know, it's all about teamwork. It's all about teamwork, and this was a great display of teamwork here, and that will continue. It will continue until every road there is extensive communication and coordination between and among local and state agencies around the state. So huge shout out to Don Brantley and the team at MEMA. This was an unprecedented storm, and as a result, we did some unprecedented things. I activated the National Guard, first and finest here. We're proud of the Massachusetts National Guard. We activated you all on Sunday, and you know, we've had hundreds of people out. Thank you guys so much for what you're doing here on the South Coast and around the state. We set up an incident command. We haven't done this before. We literally set up an incident command in different places, Fall River, Brockton, to specifically work with local officials on getting the snow cleared and getting people out and about. Mass Department of Transportation has surged resources to the city and region. With Jonathan's work and leadership, we have been able to meet all requests for salt and equipment around the state. We've got 40 communities that have equipment from the state deployed right now, including right now today. We have 211 pieces of equipment deployed. We're talking about loaders and dump trucks and plows and skid steers. For those of you at home, a skid steer is like a bobcat, but you really need those to get the snow off the sidewalk, and especially this hard pack that's out there. We've got our brine plant in full operation. The state has a brine plant. You know, it's mixing up all that salt and other stuff so that we get that on the roads and elsewhere to help de-ice. And we're deploying tankers everywhere to put that liquid brine down to help with the breakup there. In terms of our biggest deployments right now, Fall River, 71 pieces of equipment, 10 more are coming. New Bedford's got about 40 pieces with 10 more coming. Brockton's got about 24 pieces of equipment. I think conditions are improving in each community in Brockton and in Fall River. We also activated, the charge from us was, let's get out, let's utilize every state resource that we've got. So we had DCR, make their plows and their skid steers available, their equipment. I mentioned the National Guard, who has done everything from running snow blowers to shoveling to transporting people who needed to be taken out of their homes who lost power, transporting medical and shelter staff too, because thank you not only to the first responders, but the healthcare professionals, people who needed to continue to work throughout all of this, and the Guard was very helpful with that transport. I also want to give a shout out to my New England and Northeast governors. I really want to thank the great states of New York and Vermont and Connecticut. Massachusetts would come through and has come through in the past for all of you, and boy, you guys came through for all of us. So to Governors Hochul, Governors Scott and Lamont, I just really thank you, because we got a lot of equipment from Vermont, New York, and Connecticut. Also to Eversource and the utilities, they did their work. They really did. I know it's frustrating as hell to be without power, but know that Eversource National Grid had teams from as far away as Canada on the ground over the weekend before snow even hit. And I told you guys before, part of the issue with this is they can't restore power until the winds died down to less than 35 miles an hour to get up in those bucket trucks, right? And also the snow needed to be cleared. But they have been getting after it, as you can see, intensively over the last 72 hours. And on Tuesday, right after the storm, we had 290,000 power outages. Right now, we're down to about 58,000. And they're just going to continue to bang out that work aggressively today and for as long as it takes. I also want to thank folks in warming shelters statewide. We had 9 open shelters. We had 420 occupants as of last night. We also had, in addition to the shelters, I toured a few on the Cape the other day, we had warming centers set up. So again, I want to thank all the volunteers and people staffing those places. And I want to I want to thank the neighbors, people who were out checking on one another, making sure that people had food, that they had their medication. It's been amazing to see what's happened. I saw a phone app that was created by a resident showing which streets were clear, and great teamwork here in Fall River. In terms of a couple updates, state of emergency does remain in effect for all counties except Berkshire, Hampden, Hampshire, and Franklin. The commuter rail is back to regular service, so the New Bedford Fall River line commuter rail back to regular service as of today, and the entire MBTA is back to regular service. I mentioned the power outages. Those 58,000, of course, are concentrated mainly on the Cape at this point. Encourage the public to continue to follow local guidance from us at the state level. Please call 211 if you need anything, and we'll do everything we can. I know that our local officials will as well to get folks what they need, but I really hope we see the remaining power outages clear very soon, and then get the rest of the snow out from these communities. I think that's it in terms of updates, and I'd now like to turn it over to Joe Foti. Joe is a veteran at the Mass Department of Transportation, and under the direction of Undersecretary Gulliver, was asked to come down and run this incident command here on the South Coast. So, Joe, appreciate everything that you're doing.
Thank you,
Why don't
Governor.
you come
I appreciate it. Thank you.
you.
Good afternoon. Just to reiterate what the mayor and governor said, this was an unprecedented storm for this area. We're used to this, in the western part of the state, central part of the state, but for this area here, we're not used to it. So we were fortunate enough to be able to get the rest of the state clean in terms of state roads in this area as well. So when we were asked to come out here and help, we were able to move a lot of our equipment from different areas of the state. That's our own equipment, that's state equipment, and that's other state agency equipment and contractors. So, first off, I like to thank all them, because I may be here representing them, but they're the ones who are out there 24 hours a day doing the work. I'm just coordinating it. Again, the partnership that we've had with all the municipalities and with other state agencies has been unprecedented, and it's been really great to watch. The one thing I'm proud to say is the progress we've made over the last 24 hours has been really, really great. Fortunate today we have some nice weather, so we got some melt because the hard pack would have been hard to move, much harder today. So with the weather we've had today, we've really done got a lot of progress and put a big dent in what's going on. So it's our pleasure to help, and certainly under the guidance of the governor, lieutenant governor, and secretary and undersecretary. You know, we're here for as long as it takes to get this done. We're not going to abandon you, and we're going to make sure that we get your roads open so you guys can get around and move around. So, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Joe,
Appreciate
do
it.
you want to mention some of the
Anything
smaller communities that you've been working in? I know we're
Yeah.
here in Fall River, New Bedford, Brockton, but we're helping every level.
Oh yeah, we've been all over the place. We've been in Fairhaven, New Bedford. Again, just all over the place. The two that we keep mentioning is because those are the two that were hardest hit in terms of having a lot of roads that are still blocked. But we, like the governor said, we have over 200 pieces of equipment. We have over 400 people working. They're switching off and on to make sure that this is a 24/7 operation. You know, no piece of equipment has been put to rest until this is over. So, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Donna, do you have anything you want to add?
I'll just add, you know, Joe and the governor just alluded to this. We've made tremendous progress in the last 24 hours with our municipal partners, and especially with that extra equipment coming in from out of state, has really enabled us to put a huge dent in things. And right now, there's a number of those communities, not everywhere, but a number of them, we're shifting from emergency operations into general cleanup, which is exactly where we want to be with every place. And I expect that sometime in the next 24 to 48 hours, we'll be able to do that everywhere. Again, everybody's, as Joe said, we are working right now in 2 12-hour shifts to make sure the job gets done. And there's more work to do, but it's again, this is just an unprecedented event, requires an unprecedented approach, and that's what we're doing right now, and we're looking forward to getting done here.
Thank you.
Obviously, that I'm also frustrated. Would you consider Fall River really ground zero for the storm, for all that right now?
I think South Coast and Cape were ground zero for this, and shout out to, you know, our friends in Rhode Island. Love you guys, and, you know, I know Governor McKee is dealing with, I mean, Providence saw this unprecedented record snowfall. So, you know, this whole region, I think, was ground zero for the storm, and certainly, you know, that's why we as a state tried to deploy assets early and continue to surge there with resources, state resources, as well as resources from other states.
One of your predecessors, Michael Driscoll, probably no one compares to this. The timing of the storm, there was such a 24-hour spot where that much snow dumped in this region.
Yeah, I don't have my vest, or my sweater, I should say. But I will tell you, you know, look, talk to the pros and the meteorologists, you know, at your stations. I think they'll tell you that this was not dissimilar to 78. And because of the hurricane force winds and because of the amount of snow that fell over the course of, you know, 24 hours, 36 hours in some instances, because we were still seeing some snow in places, you know, even yesterday morning. So I think those things made it really, really intense, and, you know, it was a storm that we just have not seen. And I think the analogy, the more I've read and learned, because I was a little kid then in 78, the more I've read, that's a really fair comparison. The blizzard of 78. It was really, really tough out there, and you know, I'm grateful that the tides fell the way they did. You know, because that lessened what we saw in terms of some erosion and flooding. We did see some, but thank God at least the tides were not hitting at the height.
What biggest takeaway from the storm running was?
You know, I think it's just an affirmation of what we did. I mean, look, you gotta get resources in. You gotta get them there early, and you gotta be willing to use all parts of government and the apparatus. And I think that's what people look to government to do. It's at moments like this when government needs to show up and government needs to work. And that's what I saw, you know, from the Massachusetts State Police, who, you know, were helping get cars off the road, literally, because people, by the way, thank you, most people actually abided our call to stay off the roads. That helped a lot. But some people did need to be out. Cars went off the roads. Massachusetts State Police was there to clear, along with the Department of Transportation. The National Guard helped with that. The work that went on to get people. I mean, I heard stories of a police officer on the Cape. I mean, he got an older woman out of her home with 2 dogs and 3 cats and got her to a shelter, you know, and had to walk through snow and carry them to be able to get them out, because you guys saw the debris and the storm. I mean, the snow was so great. And so, to me, you know, it's about, I think the message, I guess, here is, you know, the importance of teamwork, utilizing all the assets, including those of other states. We were talking to the utilities last week about this and making sure that they were out there with crews. They had a couple thousand crews from as far away as Canada, so you know they were staged and in place. That was important, I just think a general willingness to do whatever needed doing, and be wherever you need to be. And we're not out of this yet. I mean, a lot of kids are in school today, which is great for them and great for parents. But there are kids who are not in school today, which is really tough for parents and families in those districts. So, you know, that's why we're working around the clock, 12-hour shifts to just help communities clear and get back to business as usual.
Governor Healey, so we put out, Kevin and Brad Bedford Light, we put out a survey yesterday and over 1,000 people were telling us in the New Bedford area that their streets had still not been plowed. Municipal authority said that they had reached out to the National Guard to get some help. We have not seen the National Guard yet. So I just wanted to know, A, did New Bedford receive the aid that they have requested, and will there be a guard deployment to New Bedford?
Yeah, why don't you were on the ground, both of you, so you want to adjust that?
I can tell you,
Thank you.
yes, we have equipment everywhere right now, and New Bedford had one of our bigger deployments. I think they had the second largest deployment that we had going over the last couple of days. I think we had, if I recall correctly, 40 pieces of equipment there. And I could be
There were
wrong.
5 pieces of apparatus
Yeah,
the
40
day we
with
were
10
there.
more coming.
Yeah, 40 with 10 more coming, so it'll be 50 by the end of the day. And again, this is where we are now, not just in New Bedford and Fall River and elsewhere, but any place that has snow on the ground. What we have run into over the last couple of days with those cold temperatures that dropped overnight, and with a little bit of melting that goes into that snow is no longer something that you can just plow easily. There's some areas that we still can, that it's movable, but we have to bring in specialized equipment to actually remove that snow. It's a removal process now, not a plowing process in most cases. So that does take some time. We again, the Lieutenant Governor and I were in New Bedford just a couple of days ago. That team there is doing a great job opening up those streets, and we are continuing to do that across this whole region, prioritizing first and foremost those routes that are necessary for emergency services, and then really working our way into those neighborhoods and elsewhere that need to get opened up. So we really appreciate everybody's patience. We know this is frustrating, especially if you're currently snowed in. We are working with our municipal partners as hard as we can to get to you and to open those streets up. And again, I'm really hopeful that everywhere across this region we will be at least getting to passable roadways sometime in the next 24 to 48 hours. Hopefully, I'm being generous with that estimate. It's a lot sooner than that.
Yeah. And I think you were there Tuesday, so right after the storm, right? I mean,
Yep.
we had 5 pieces of equipment helping out there, but the guard, I don't know when we sent
On
the guard
site,
there.
I don't, we're deploying the guard as needed. New Bedford actually did a really great job in terms of getting their main drags open. There were 5 pieces of equipment there. They got a strong team, both taking in requests and trying to get to them. And so it's sort of like putting the right piece of apparatus in the right place. Their side streets can take a little bit wider equipment, and that's why we had 5 pieces of apparatus out there right away. Joe, do you want to say anything else about New Bedford? Just
Yeah, no, I mean, we've deployed vehicles, equipment there as of first thing Tuesday morning. We're checking in with them on a regular basis. We have people on the ground there as well who are making sure that it's being addressed. In my opinion, I think, we have sufficient equipment there. Naturally, we'd like more, and what we'll do is we'll look at, when we start looking at other communities that we can free up equipment, where we're certainly going to look at other communities that need it and start, transferring it to locations as well.
And like, just to be clear, there were definitely side streets that were completely covered and not had a plow, like there are here in Fall River. So much snow, at some point, some of the vehicles had to come off the road, and it makes it hard to catch up. So I certainly want folks to understand, we're aware, it was bad in New Bedford too, and that's why we're deploying so many assets everywhere.
For Governor Healey, Alice Leslie from Joe, Governor Islands, but I only saw 2 deaths related to COVID, one being carbon monoxide. If you ever only something that was related. Does your office, or where the community knows any deaths related to COVID?
Well, there was one fatality on the highway Monday evening, I believe. That was on the Pike, and someone was out of their car and was struck by a tractor trailer. Apart from that, I mentioned the very sad explosion in Taunton. I don't know whether that's tied to this per se or not. But these are the things that we talk about, and with the start of any storm, we ask people to get out, check your detectors, carbon monoxide, clear the vents. We warn about shoveling because we know that can lead to cardiac issues. I was in Cape Cod Hospital Tuesday. That place was full. Again, thank you to all the healthcare professionals and first responders who are out there helping people. But, one of the reasons we were really, really focused on supporting and getting those warming shelters and warming centers open, and I'm grateful for the work of the teams to get people out who needed to be moved, is we didn't want anybody stuck in their home freezing and freezing to death. That was really, really, job one in terms of public safety. So I thank everybody in Massachusetts who worked hard to take care of that.
Last question, if there is any? Go ahead. I do have a question. So, obviously, as you said, this is an unprecedented situation, but moving forward, are you hoping to see more from cities and towns on maybe a plan or something moving forward?
Our cities and towns work hard, and our city and town officials work really hard. And obviously, as a state, and as governor, I want to do everything that I can to support our cities and towns and our local governments. And this is an example of when that support is needed, because, you're seeing something, you're hit with something that, you haven't seen before. Municipal budgets are what they are when it comes to buying equipment and staffing and all that. So, we're sensitive to that. And to me, it's not about the blame game, or woulda, coulda, shoulda. I think that, we all work together on this, and we will continue to be out there to support our cities and towns. And, people have done across the Commonwealth really remarkable work. I also want to thank our cities and towns out in the western part of the state, because, they got a little less snow, so we swung a lot of resources from there to this region. And I know if something happened out there, this region would be the first to send resources out to the west.
I just have one question for the mayor. Mayor, one question, please. What's the status of the fast team and our homeless in Fall River? Are they still being serviced? Are they still?
Yeah, they're still in the shelter today. They'll be there tonight. We'll obviously, as we do every day on our fast team and our homeless, we'll monitor the weather. And I went by there on the way here. They were all outside. It's a beautiful day. Let's say we get back to normal as fast as we can.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you. Nice job.
Okay, thank you.